Whispers by the water. Joe had always loved fishing, but it wasn't until his retirement that he found time to indulge in his favorite pastime. The idea of night fishing, in particular, had always intrigued him. There was something serene about the stillness of the water under the moonlight. So, one warm July evening, he decided to head out to Lake Hollow, a secluded spot he had heard about from an old friend. The lake was a good 2-hour drive from his home, nestled deep within the forest. As Joe's truck bumped along the dirt road leading to the lake, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced through the trees. By the time he arrived, the sky was a deep indigo, stars beginning to twinkle overhead. Joe parked his truck near the edge of the water, grabbed his gear, and set up near a rickety old pier that jutted out into the lake. The air was cool and still, the only sound the gentle lapping of water against the shore. He cast his line and settled into his folding chair, the dim beam of his lantern casting a small circle of light. As the minutes ticked by, Joe found himself lulled by the peaceful atmosphere. The occasional rustle in the underbrush or the hoot of an owl was all that disturbed the night. Yet, as midnight approached, the tranquility began to feel oppressive, almost suffocating. Joe brushed off his unease as nerves, but couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He glanced around, seeing nothing but the dark silhouette of the forest against the starry sky. He chuckled to himself, attributing his anxiety to an overactive imagination fueled by too many campfire tales. Just as he was beginning to relax again, Joe noticed a light mist rolling in from the far end of the lake. It moved slowly, swirling in ghostly tendrils, and within minutes, it had enveloped the pier. The temperature seemed to drop, and Joe shivered despite his thick jacket. Then he heard it, a faint whisper, like the rustle of dry leaves. Joe's heart skipped a beat. He strained his ears, trying to discern the source. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, as if voices were carried on the mist. He couldn't make out any words, just a jumble of eerie, disjointed murmurs. "Who's there?" Joe called out, his voice sounding unnaturally loud in the stillness. There was no reply, only the persistent whispering. Joe's grip tightened on his fishing rod as his eyes scanned the mist, trying to pierce the fog. The lantern's light seemed to dim, the darkness closing in around him. Then, just at the edge of his vision, he saw movement, a shadowy figure standing on the water, barely discernible through the fog. "Hello!" Joe's voice quivered. The figure didn't respond, but Joe could feel its eyes on him, cold and unblinking. Panic welled up inside him. He stumbled to his feet, knocking over the lantern. Darkness swallowed him as the light extinguished, plunging him into an impenetrable blackness. The whispers intensified, now sounding like a chorus of voices, each one hissing unintelligible words. Joe backed away, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure seemed to glide closer, not walking but floating just above the water's surface. Desperate, Joe fumbled for his flashlight, his hands shaking so badly it took several tries to switch it on. When he did, the beam cut through the fog, illuminating the figure. An emaciated, ghostly apparition with hollow eyes and a mouth twisted in a silent scream. Joe staggered backward, dropping the flashlight. It rolled to the edge of the pier, casting wild shadows as it spun. The apparition moved closer, its whispers now a cacophony that filled Joe's mind, drowning out all rational thought. He turned and ran, his footsteps echoing against the wooden planks of the pier. The mist swirled around him, the whispers following, growing louder with each step. Joe's breath came in ragged gasps as he reached his truck, yanking the door open and throwing himself inside. With shaking hands, he fumbled the keys into the ignition and started the engine. He glanced back at the pier as he sped away. The mist was receding, and the figure was gone, but the whispers lingered in his mind, a haunting echo that refused to fade. Joe never spoke of that night at Lake Hollow, but he never returned to those waters. The whispers by the water, and the ghostly figure that stood upon it, remained with him, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of the night.